Hi everyone, I'm Florian, and some of you may know me as Bübchensaft from our Discord. I am the level lead for Wildlife, and today we want to give you a bit of an insight into the work that we are doing here at the level department, by giving you a brief rundown of our experiences on working on environments from past to present. We started the work on our old map before the full vision and design were properly fleshed out. The map was extremely ambitious, with planned biomes and locations. And we soon realized that it wouldn't be feasible for the team to complete the game in an acceptable time frame. To test our plans and workflows for working on the world map, we started work on a vertical slice or the wildlife demo. A vertical slice is a portion of the game which contains elements of all departments put together in a desired final quality. After completing these steps, we learned that we needed to adjust our process, as our approach was too inflexible for iteration and the polishing of small areas took way too long. For example, needed changes in the level layout came too late when the level art was already in the process of polishing. This amounted to an unreasonable amount of reworks needed to be done. With these lessons and experiences gathered, we started work on a new map. We wanted to stay in an extensive blockout phase, which helps us keeping the flexibility until all questions are answered and the designs are fully done. The main goal of this blockout is to nail the important parts, like the scale of the map, or the number of biomes and the placement of locations, and overall improving the verticality of the map. But more on the blockouts later. In early 2023, the switch to Unreal 5 came, and with it introduced a lot of great tools and systems like world partitioning, nanite, and lumen, all of which are greatly helping speed up our process of building the world. But the switch also brought new challenges and problems with it, like memory management and other performance pitfalls. Those we need to tackle over the course of this year. Also, with the arrival of the procedural framework, we want to look into tools that help our artists place a large amount of generic small assets like rocks and stones, which will speed up our process of building world even more. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We mentioned before, we are still in the blockout for the level. And we have thought of two blockout stages. We call them Blockout A and Blockout B. We are currently in the Blockout Phase B, which means, for example, that we are looking at locations and answering questions like the size of a space, the placement of buildings, composition, and gameplay. How does a player enter those spaces, and what's the important location for points of interest, buildings, characters, and loot? At this stage, buildings will be largely empty. With all of that done, the game designers can start implementing quests, routines, and character or NPC movement paths. The level team will be moving on to Blockout A. Now we think about things like asset diversity and density, which means the team will start adding all of the objects and details you would expect to find in a village or in other parts of the world. This includes things like furniture, fences, and other such details. This is still in the form of blockouts at this point. But the amount and diversity of assets will be the same as in the final game. That means currently most of our assets in the world map are still in blockout and will be moved or switched out with a final quality version at a later stage. From the demo we know that polishing an environment and the needed assets takes an incredible amount of time. And so we set out to build relationships with talented freelancers to help us produce our desired quality for our models in an acceptable time frame. This gives us the chance to focus on artistic and technical direction in-house. To get an idea for the quality we are aiming for, you can look at the characters and costumes that are already in the game. Remember the ugly tree with the blurry textures? That's not the final asset, I promise. For Flora, we prepared a tree that shows you what to expect. And with a bit of imagination, you can see the goal that we have for all of our assets. With all of that said, what are our plans for 2024? The Blockout B for all major locations is almost done, with only 3 missing, and we will be moving on to Blockout A, starting with the Alpha Camp. This means that several locations and stages are being worked on in parallel by different artists, aiming to complete the overall Blockout phase by the end of the year. The same will happen for the rest of the world, as we are almost done with the shapes or the large shapes of the landscapes like cliffs and mountains. And we will be moving on to adding landscape details, including the final placement for rivers and lakes. The next step will be blockouts for plants and trees for all the biomes, similar in form to what you see in the forest around the warrior village. With the updates to our water bodies and the new addition to foliage, we also want to look at material-based animation, like flowing water, waterfalls, foliage wind animation, and player interaction, all of which will be adding more life to the map. We hope this little presentation gave you meaningful insights into our workflows, and you have a better understanding of what to expect for the coming releases. We are at the end of the video, and I want to take the chance to thank all of you who support us on Patreon or by spreading the word about wildlife. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. Thank you.